Alright, welcome back to ShoeTube, and today we are going to talk about the brand new adaptation of Stephen King's It, which hit theaters here this weekend, breaking box office records, getting good reviews. Well, here's my take. First off, went and saw it last night. Pretty packed house, and the crowd definitely into it. So let's talk about the good in this movie. And there was a lot of good in this movie. I totally dug it. Okay, overall, think it was really good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with part two. Gonna get slightly spoilery here, so if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to check it out first before you watch the review. That being said, let's get into it. First off, the good. The kids. Oh, the kids were fantastic. Extremely well cast. They all did a great job, and you really got the sense of the friendship and the camaraderie. Very good stuff there. And of course, that is something that I think was done extremely well in the original miniseries from back in 1990. So I thought that was really good. I thought Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise had some pretty big clown shoes to fill. Tim Curry's performance, pretty iconic and pretty awesome, but definitely a different take, which I'm glad. He was not as jokey. He was not as fun as Tim Curry's Pennywise. And I think that was a really good choice, because if he was, you'd be just like, oh man, I miss Tim Curry. But no, this is a much creepier Pennywise, much darker. And that's actually one of the really cool things about the movie is the way it was shot. It very, very creepy. Derry is a very creepy town. If you've read Stephen King books, you already know this, but yes, they really established that well in this movie. And Pennywise was creepy. I liked the look. I liked the makeup. I think it was just a great choice to make it a completely different look than the Curry version. And I really think it worked. I think Skarsgård did a great job. The way he delivered his dialogue was very creepy and very cool. The one thing I gotta say I didn't particularly like about Pennywise, and this is something that I don't really like about a lot of current modern horror movies, is the use of kind of like the, where they kind of like cut out a couple of frames so he jumps at you and it just looks weird. There was a lot of that, and that I can do without. Not a fan. But other than that, the Pennywise, super duper cool. A couple of things that they changed from the book and from the miniseries that I thought didn't work was particularly when the Losers Club split up. That doesn't happen. And then Beverly getting kidnapped to kind of bring them back together, that doesn't work, because the Beverly character was, kind of a kick-ass, ballsy chick, and now she's kind of reduced to the standard damsel in distress in the third act. So that for me really didn't work. And another thing, one of the things, the running gags in the book, and something that is throughout the miniseries, is Richie, when he tends to babble on and talk about just random stuff and go off on his little tangents. When it's time for him to shut up, they all say beep beep Richie, and that's the clue that it's time to tone it down. But we don't get that. In fact, the only time it gets said is when Pennywise says it, and in the context of this presentation of the story, it just didn't make sense. So I kind of missed that. I thought that was a fun running gag that I wish they had kind of kept in there. But other than that, I dug it. And it definitely had some good creepy moments. That creepy clown room is good and creepy. And yeah, just the visuals were great. I thought it was extremely well directed. I really liked so much about it that the problems I had were very minor criticisms. And the crowd that I was in really seemed to dig it. Except, man, I had a guy behind me who was just saying the most stupid things throughout the movie. Almost to the point where I was like seconds away from turning around and just like, dude, shut the... But I didn't. I kept it cool. All right. And just to give you an example of the kind of witty bon mot this guy was, throwing out there, was, the movie has a little card that pops up, a little credit on the screen that says it takes place in, 1989, right? So, yeah, dude, like, 2 minutes later, they made some sort of joke in the movie, and he's like, says to the gal next to him, he's like, "Oh, this takes place in like the 70s or something." Yeah, no, just, it's reading comprehension. And it's not even reading, it's numbers, for God's sakes. Anyway, other than that clown, a fun night at the movie. Fuck that clown. Yeah, the clown behind me was definitely not as creepy as Pennywise, but was really, really annoying. So overall, like I said, definitely recommend it if you're a fan of the book. It's not, a literal, word-for-word adaptation, and it's definitely a lot different than the miniseries. But overall, extremely well done, and it's nice to see an R-rated horror movie. But having said that, I think the reason that this movie was R-rated is because of the language. A lot of swearing in this movie. Not a ton of gore. There's a couple of bloody spots, like, man, in the opening with Georgie and the boat. That's so well done. And that's definitely an accomplishment because we've seen that done extremely well in the 1990 miniseries. But man, when you see him sink his teeth and just rip Georgie's arm off, and that one-armed Georgie kind of crawl across the road. Oh, brutal! Yeah, they didn't do that on the miniseries, but yeah, I probably couldn't get away with that in 1990 or 89, whatever it was when it came out. 1990 when it aired. Yeah, you couldn't have done that on network television. You probably couldn't really do that now on network television. So that was extremely well done. But other than that scene and just all the blood that comes out of the sink in Beverly's bathroom, not a ton of gore. It was definitely a lot of jump scares and a lot of just atmosphere. The atmosphere, the tone, the way that they shot it, that's what really provided just the overall horror of it. So really, without the language, I'm pretty sure this would have been PG-13. So yeah, that's my take. What did you think? I hope everyone out there dug it, because it's been a while since there's been any movies out that I've wanted to see. And other than the Lego Ninjago movie, which I'll be going to because I got a kid, Thor Ragnarok is the next big one on the list. But yeah, kind of a wasteland here end of summer as far as the movies went. But I'm glad that this came out when it did, and it's definitely getting people out to the theater. And like I said, I had a packed house. Everybody seemed to really dig it. And just, I'll leave you with one other moment that I thought was one of the creepiest, scariest moment of the movie, is when the pharmacist kind of creepily hits on Beverly. He's like, "Oh yeah, you look like Lois Lane." Ugh. Yeah, like people like vocally reacted to that, like, "Ugh." That was just fun. And this is definitely a movie you want to see with a crowd, because the crowd reactions were a lot of fun, other than the D-bag behind me. But anyway, what did you think? I hope everybody dug it. If you want to let me know, leave a comment for me. Love to see them. And if you like what you hear, if you want to hear more, like the video, subscribe, and thank you once again for checking into ShoeTube.